I'm so happy to be here.
I would love to hear more about this Museum of the Bible that I have been hearing about so much these days. What is this happening?
Yeah, so it's a big question. 5 years ago, the Museum of the Bible kind of started out of my family building a private collection of biblical artifacts and antiquities. We didn't really actually have a plan to build a museum whenever we started with this private collection.
Like it was just like this, hey, we want these things,
well,
this will be fun to have.
we really wanted to see a museum come about.
Okay.
So we were, buying some things and thinking, we can give this to someone who will make a museum someday. And in really short order, we had one of the largest private collections of biblical artifacts in the world.
Wow.
And we really felt the need to steward them well. So we actually just caught the vision for doing this museum. And so we started looking around and bought a building in Washington, D.C., 2 blocks from the Air and Space Museum, which is one of the most attended museums in Washington, D.C., a few blocks from the Capitol. You could walk. And it's going to be an 8-story, 430,000 square foot museum.
It's not a
all
small
about
building.
The Bible. Right, it's huge. I just got to see the building yesterday. I was in D.C. Touring, seeing how the construction was coming, because it's under construction right now, and yeah, it's massive. We were comparing the length of some of the floors, and they're the length of a football field, and we've got eight of those.
That is crazy. So when is expected open for this museum?
Yeah, so the museum is expected to open November 2017. I'm anxiously awaiting it because I just can't wait to see it. It's going to be 8 floors, but 3 of those floors are going to be the main substance of the exhibits of the museum, and they'll cover the history of the Bible, the impact of the Bible, and the narrative or the stories of the Bible. So with the history floor, we really want to show people, how did we get the Bible? So when you hold your Bible in your hands today, what's the story that brought it to us? Yeah. So the translation, the transmission. So we'll start with really early artifacts and kind of work chronologically through time to show how we got this book.
So what's your earliest artifact that you have for that?
Some of the early things that we have, particularly that people would recognize, are Dead Sea Scroll fragments. We have a number of fragments, and they're incredibly old, such an important archaeological find, and we're so honored to have some of those in our collection. But we've also partnered with the Israel Antiquities Authority, and they've agreed to have a permanent gallery in our museum. They have the largest collection of Dead Sea Scroll fragments by having over 10,000.
Wow.
So it's the largest collection in the world, and they've partnered with us, and they'll have some of those on display, some of them which have never been seen publicly because they've been kept in storage there in Israel. So we're excited about those early things,
That's awesome.
as well as things that are really kind of fun and more like we have Elvis Presley's Bible.
Okay.
So not exactly ancient, but very interesting, and
Yeah.
you can see where he's underlined things. He underlines a lot in the Psalms, actually. So yeah, lots of interesting things in between there too.
So you have the floor of the artifacts of the Bible,
yeah,
and
so
then
we got the history, and then we have the impact floor.
And
we
like, what's on that?
Yeah, we want to talk about how this book has impacted our world in so many different areas of life. Most people don't even realize the ways that this book has impacted them, just because of the nature of things that we wouldn't recognize. I mean, even films that aren't specifically Christian or faith-based films that will have biblical references, it's had an impact even in Shakespeare's writing in so many different ways, in music, art, science, history, everything. Every area has some kind of impact that the Bible has influenced, as well as people's lives. And so we want to get to have a number of different kind of kiosks. This will be kind of the setup of that floor, where you can go and see, well, how has it impacted art? And you can kind of hear an explanation of different ways it has impacted that. And then you can go to the music, and you'll hear different music that's not necessarily Christian music, that's maybe other artists that have biblical themes because the Bible has been an influence in their life or in their music somehow. And so forth. So a lot of different kiosks there to see the many areas that the Bible has impacted our world.
That's wonderful. And then the next floor?
The narratives. We want to get to show people kind of this importance of the Bible and how it has come through history, but we also want them to understand at least a broad overview of the stories that this book is actually sharing. So we want to cover broadly the Old Testament and New Testament, or the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, and get to walk people through really experiential galleries. So you'll be walking through the Bible almost.
Amazing.
So you walk into a room, there'll be all kinds of things set up to make you feel like you're in the environment, and you'll maybe hear the stories being shared or watching a video of the story that you're learning about at that time. And you kind of walk through this for the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. And then for the New Testament, we're going to have a chance for people to sit down. We'll have a 360 theater, so you can sit down. This massive screen will open in front of you, and you'll hear the stories of the New Testament and Jesus' life and after his life as told by Luke. So it'll be a really a cool perspective.
Little interactive, like video and audio.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
And then also additionally, after you kind of go through both the Old and New Testament, we'll have a Nazareth village experience. So you'll actually, we're setting it up to look like the Nazareth as it would have been at the time of Jesus. So that's where Jesus lived. So there'll be people dressed up in costume, doing things that they would have been doing. So there'll be a synagogue. You can walk in a synagogue and see what that would have been like at that time. Be an olive press and see, making olive oil and such was really significant at that time. You can see people doing that work and all kinds of things to feel like you're actually back in time at Jesus' hometown.
That sounds amazing. And then what about the other 5 floors?
Yeah, so in the other 5 floors, we're going to have all kinds of things. So we have some traveling, rotating exhibit space that will have a number, at least 2 or 3 exhibits constantly on display, and we can rotate those. And then we'll have gallery space for the Vatican Museum and the Vatican Library, as well as the Israel Antiquities Authority. We have great relationships with both of them, and they'll be putting some of their things permanently on display in our museum to get to rotate their collections and show them in DC. We'll also have a biblical garden on our rooftop. It's going to be amazing. So our our building is one of the tallest buildings in the area. So from our roof, you'll actually be able to see the Capitol. And so it's just a great view. You can see the monument and all these significant places in DC. But we're also going to have a biblical garden up there of different plants and trees and things that have come from Israel.
Have been present, yes.
Yeah. And we'll also have a biblical themed restaurant, so you can go and eat foods that would have related to the times of the Bible.
That's amazing.
Yes, I'm so excited about that.
Is that going to be on the rooftop as well, or
it's
in the building? It's going to be, I think,
around the second from the top floor.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll have a nice view.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get really excited about food. Too excited about food. So I'm excited about that one.
Yes. So this sounds like this has really been some kind of like dream and for an idea for a while. What is your family's hopes that this museum, I mean, is this a museum for Christian people to come and see the stuff of the Bible? What is your hope for this museum?
So our hope and our mission actually for the museum is that we will invite all people to engage with the Bible. That's our mission. So we're not just looking to invite Christians, but we want to invite just beyond the Protestant community, the Catholic community and the Jewish community have gotten really involved in this because they look at this book as their book as well. And so we've seen a lot of unity happen around this project, which has been so amazing and such a blessing. But even beyond that, people that have no faith or no interest in the Bible, we hope that they're curious and want to see, the Bible has impacted our world and our culture so much that we think people should be interested to at least know something of this book. Yeah. So we want to invite all people to come into this museum and check it out, and there's something for everyone to learn. The museum is going to be so big though that it would take 9 8-hour days to see everything in the museum.
Are you serious?
Yes, so it's 430,000 square feet. And so that's obviously hard. Not everyone's going to be able to give us that much time.
Right.
So we're going to have really interactive tours that whenever you come in, you'll get a tablet, like an iPad. You can enter some information, like what your particular interests are, how much time you have, if you're with a group. And once you enter that, it'll curate a tour for you that's specific to your interests. So if you're particularly interested in the Bible as it relates to America, you can put that in there and it'll show you things like, oh, you want to make sure you only have 2 hours, so you want to make sure you see this, and this. Here's where it is.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah, and it can even adjust as you go through. So if you're taking a lot of time at this case, and it notices that, then it'll say, oh, you might be, if you're really interested in this piece, then you might also be interested in this one. So we really want to make it easy for people to come in and really get something from this experience.
Well, what a great addition to all of the museums that are present in DC.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm a mom to 4 kids, of how awesome it would be to bring my kids through this museum. Do you have stuff set up specifically for kids?
I'm glad you brought that up because we do. We have a whole floor of like kids interactive stuff. Okay. As well as on the tablets, so we have all different levels of information. We have a kids level all the way up through scholarly. So if you have a PhD and you want to get the really in-depth stuff, great, we're going to have that available. But for the kids, we'll have really fun tours and things that they'll get excited about as well.
Yeah. Lauren, thank you so much
for
telling us
me.
about this. And I cannot wait till November 2017.
Me too.
It seems like forever away, but it will be here before we know it.
Here like that.
Yeah. And then what a great mission you guys have just
thanks.
to let people see the value of the Bible. So thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.